We want to continue the conversation with Niall Stanage from the Hill. Niall, the president saying that these other objects were not Chinese. Does that give any comfort to the American people when it would almost seem as though anybody could send something up in the sky over U.S. territory?
I take the point that this episode does cause a real concern to people. Objects flying overhead that could be malevolent, that goes to a very elemental fear. I do think, in fairness, that this suggestion or assertion from the president that these were not malevolent does take the fear down a few notches, does calm some of the panic that people have understandably been feeling.
And in terms of the explanation as to why we needed fighter jets to shoot them down, wouldn't there have been a more affordable way to deal with this, where the destruction of those items now buried at the bottom of one of the Great Lakes or atop mountains near the Canadian border or in Alaska, couldn't that have all been avoided? Does the U.S. government have a responsibility to explain to Americans why they took that particular approach?
So I think on one hand, there are obviously questions about this episode, generally speaking. Now, when it comes to the affordability or cost efficiency of taking these down, I'm not sure that that rises to the actual top level of people's concern. The fear or worry that I have heard is allowing the first balloon to traverse the United States. President Biden says that was done because shooting it down would have caused potential danger to people on the ground. Then it got out off the coast of South Carolina and was shot down. The means of taking these down at the height that they're flying is going to require some fairly impactful form of intervening. So they shot them down, and that was that.
But I still, and you and I, we don't usually disagree on much in terms of our approach to things. We want to stay right down the middle. But I think that a lot of people would wonder how costly it is to use a fighter jet when they could have probably taken a very advanced drone, dragged it to a place where there wasn't a lot of people. They were shot down in areas where there weren't a lot of people. The spy balloon over Montana was shot down where there wasn't a lot of people off the coast. It could have been shot down over Montana, though, frankly, because there wasn't anything there probably besides cattle. But the point is that the amount of money that the Defense Department is using to shoot down something that could be innocuous seems rather, I don't know, it just seems rather excessive, especially now that we don't even have the proof of those items and we've got to wait for them to dig them out. But Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is reportedly weighing a meeting with his Chinese counterparts in Munich today. Do we know what's expected there?
We know that it's an attempt to take down the tensions here by a couple of notches. Because, of course, at the outset of this whole episode with the balloons, a proposed trip by Secretary Blinken to China was cancelled. It's not that there's going to be some best friends palling around here, but the Biden administration takes the view that they want the relationship with China to be one of competition, not conflict. It's very clear, Adrienne, as you know, that tensions will spike at times and perhaps fade at other times. And I think this is just that attempt to turn down the dial a little bit and put things back on a more normal footing.
We'll see what normal means between U.S. and China relations. China now sanctioning Lockheed Martin and Raytheon over weapon sales to Taiwan. And there's the big ban on TikTok based in China. So perhaps that will come up in Munich. We will find out. Thank you so much, Niall. Good to see you on a Friday. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.